Hello everyone, my name is Tom Hemmerling. I'm a professor in anesthesia and surgery at McGill University. This is the first episode of the new YouTube channel of the Society of Technology in Anesthesia. I welcome today with me former president of STA, as it's called as well, Lara Brewer from the University of Utah. Lara and myself are going to have a little conversation in order to introduce you what the Society of Technology in Anesthesia is all about. Welcome, Lara. So, Lara, you've been a former president of the Society, right? We've known each other for many, many years. What is actually the Society of Technology in Anesthesia? How would you describe sort of like the Society?
Well, the Society is a group of people who have a deep interest in advancing technology in anesthesia. So over time, it's been developed as an international society where we gather a unique group of people, which includes engineers, clinicians, and innovators from industry, as well as occasional regulatory groups. And we work together to improve patient care and safety in anesthesia.
That's great. Sounds interesting. Can you tell me a little bit about the history? Because it's not a new society, right? It's not been formed like, 2 years ago. This is an old society. And I think, fair to say, it's probably a unique society in terms of like, there's nobody else there in terms of with that focus. And I think it has a worldwide reputation. So can you give us a little rundown on the history of the society?
Sure. The STA group was formed in 1988, and it initially was a group of people interested in advancing technology to improve patient care, and through the years it's grown to be an internationally recognized society, and it's great. It brings together researchers, engineers, clinicians, trainees, industry experts, and everyone is deeply interested in advancing technology. So it's really been a neat society in this unique way.
That's exactly my question. I mean, I'm obviously part of lots of medical societies, right? But this is sort of like has a unique place because it's sort of like, it brings people from different specialties and different CVs basically together. Now, how would you characterize the actual mission? I mean, so you have a society, what's the mission of it? What do the people want to achieve?
I think collaboration, getting to know each other. It's a smaller society, so I think relationships develop over time, and this allows collaboration and mentoring across various different areas. And I think the mission is really just improving patient care and patient safety, and there are a lot of thought leaders that come together to passionately explore how this can be done.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm personally with the society for almost 20 years now. It always feels like a special society, right, when we meet each other. Is there anything where you could sort of, which you could grab, where you say, well, this is why it's so special and different from other societies?
I would say in part it's smaller than something like the ASA. It allows people to build and maintain relationships over many years. And this allows us to understand each other's strengths and leadership capabilities, and it allows us to get advice from each other or ask about certain ideas or collaborate, and that relationship over time, I think, is part of what makes the magic special about this society. It's really a unique group of people that all have this common interest.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, because it's an international society, obviously meeting is important, right? And as well, not just meeting virtually as many things are done now, but meeting in person. So tell me a little bit about, how the annual meeting is done, how you guys meet. I mean, what sort of like are we in constant contact, or how it's done, Lara?
Yeah, so there's an annual meeting that goes over several days. It includes poster and abstract sessions, educational content, CME credit, scientific competitions, and even grant awards and even networking opportunities. So it's a multi-day conference that's held in mid-January each year.
The annual meeting is in January, as you said, but I think in addition, we're linked as well with like the meeting why we meet here, right, in Montreal, the IRS, but as well the ASA. So what is our exposure there? How could people sort of interact with us during these meetings?
Yeah, so at the ASA, we have a panel each year where we focus on technology in anesthesia, and also at IARS there's a special time devoted to the STA topics of technology. So we are visible in multiple areas each year. Our abstracts are published each year. And so it's not just about the annual meeting. We really do maintain contact year-round.
Now, obviously, the society sort of like attracts people from different ways of life, right? And different generations almost, right? And so let's say somebody would want to join STAR as such, as a member, right? How would they go about business?
Yeah, so there's the STA website, and they can just go and click on Become a Member. The membership types include things like trainee memberships, affiliate memberships, and of course the traditional things like sustaining memberships and even retiree memberships. So there's a long list of types of memberships, and you just apply to join.
And I think in comparison to most like medical societies, I don't think it's that expensive, is it?
That's true, especially with regard to the trainee membership. That's particularly affordable. Intentionally, we want to recruit young trainees as much as we can.
Obviously, we want to sort of like go away a little bit from STAR as such, but want to talk a little bit more about technology. We obviously, being an engineer, I'm more a medical doctor, but obviously we do research in technology. I want to ask you a little some general questions about technology and almost like geopolitically, right? Now, if you look at technology and anesthesia in the US, right? How would you see sort of like the future? Where are we going with this? What's the next steps? What's the next wave? What's the next big thing?
Well, I think a big theme going forward will be moving from a reactionary setting in the perioperative space to a more integrated, clinician decision-supported proactive stance. So I think we'll have technologies that support better decision making, which includes better integration of the data from many siloed systems and better salient display of errors or trends that need attention. But I think we'll have clinician centered action still for many of the themes coming forward.
So I would understand it in such a way that basically you have these kind of like autonomous systems, robotic systems, AI related systems, but they're basically just tools a clinician can use, and basically everything needs to be centered and in a way still controlled by the physician, right?
I think especially in the short term that will especially be the case, but I think in specific areas there may be opportunities for a little more automation, maybe in areas like TIVA or maybe enhanced identification of venous access or ultrasound guided procedures, perhaps image analysis that supports the clinician in decisions and actions. But I think in the long run there will be a little more automation, but I think especially in the 5 to 10 year period it will be more in support of the clinician.
Now you're obviously a very experienced researcher, and you know I've obviously seen it in the US. I see it here in Canada as well. How do you see research will be funded in the future? What do you think is sort of like an issue, or what is at the core of what we need to preserve or even enhance in order to develop still all these new tools? And a lot of the people in STAR have used these tools and have developed these tools in the past. wouldn't you think that we're all a little bit worried about sort of like the funding and needed and sort of like the focus on funding this kind of research?
Yes, I agree. We definitely need to continue sustained funding to improve patient care, both in the OR and outside of the OR. And it is difficult to maintain research programs when the funding is questionable. So I, like many others, fully support more research money for patient care.
I mean, you're not a clinician, but I guess you could do anesthesia yourself. But what I'm trying to get at is, if you look from an engineering background, right? If you look at what the challenges, what the biggest challenges are in developing these new technologies in anesthesia, what would you see? What is sort of like where you think this needs to be well done, otherwise we're going in the wrong direction?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because for technology to make a difference in patient care and patient safety, it needs to not only function well, it must also have the trust of the clinician. It can't be a black box that just does its own thing. It has to be reliably tested and verified. It needs regulatory support. It needs a business model. And these things take time. And so if you have spotty funding, you can't go for the long goal on those things to bring it all together to help patients.
And that's an interesting point about, still keeping the attitude of going for the long goal, right? Because when you look at the current situation in technology all over, not just in anesthesia, you would probably think that, AI is there and will basically solve all the problems tomorrow. How do you see that?
Yeah, I think AI will, of course, play an important role, and it already has. What used to take 6 to 12 months to program and develop can now be done in a matter of hours. So that is a tremendous leap forward, but we still have all those other steps we need to take care of, including verification, which is very difficult, building clinician trust, and of course, developing the markets and the regulatory approvals. So AI will play a large role in especially the areas where it has great power, but those other pieces won't go away, so they need to happen too.
I want to pick your brains a little bit about sort of like the difference between AI as such, or it's not really a difference, but sort of like the interpretation of AI towards like more robotic anesthesia, robotic medicine. Because I feel that everybody, when we're talking about AI, is talking about the LLMs and the ChatGPT, right? It's the keyword which falls, but that's not everything in AI, right? How do you see the future of robots in anesthesia or in medicine as such? There is the Da Vinci robot, right, for a surgeon, but in all fairness, if the surgeon doesn't move the robot, nothing happens. So it's more like an extension of the arms. But a pure robot, in Asia, obviously, I've seen them in the hospitals. How do you see the future for robots? Is that the next big thing?
Again, I think in the short term, we'll see robots assisting clinicians and clinician support, and maybe adjusting anesthesia or physiologic control. But in the long term, perhaps there are some specific areas where what we would call a robot could do some specific things. But I think it'll be a long time before we have a robot doing full anesthesia care. And the role of the anesthesiologist is critical to being dynamic and responsive and creative in a way that an AI-powered robot couldn't really master, at least in what I foresee in the short term.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of like ask you more like a personal or sort of like more like a career type of question. You've obviously been in this business for a long time. If you look back at when you made this decision, right, to go into engineering and then sort of like to branch into engineering, medicine, anesthesia, is there anything you would want to do differently? Or is there something where you'd say, you know what, should have done that differently, or should have done that, or should have gone there? Anything at all?
If I look back, I think I should have expanded my circle of advisors earlier. I should have made acquaintances internationally and nationally sooner, because it brings extra perspective and extra insight when you have those relationships. But I think STA has helped me build those relationships, so I'm really happy about that.
Since this is the first episode of the STA News channel, any final comments you want to have?
One comment I'd love to bring forward is that we have a unique mentoring opportunity in STA, and if you're a trainee or a student who would like, or even a junior faculty member who would like advice from industry experts, FDA experts, engineering, academic, and clinical experts in anesthesia and perioperative anesthesia, we have the group that can help you. So that's a neat opportunity if you're a member of STA.
Okay, those are nice final comments. This was an interview with Lara Brewer from the University of Utah, former president of STA. I'm Tom Hemmeling. I'm the research chair from STA and the professor of anesthesia at McGill. Hope we'll see you again. Thank you.